Playbook podcast. I'm your host Quinn Jackson. Joining with me today is my co-host Noah Hawley. This is season 2, episode 11 of the show. One episode left before season 3. Yes, we know that this episode is 2 days late. It was supposed to drop on Sunday, but we had things to do. We were really busy, so we're dropping it today. So, having said that, let's get into more NFL offseason buzz. There were some more major trades. I'm gonna kind of break that down a little bit. Apologize if this is a rather short episode. We are on a time crunch, so we're gonna try to break it down as quickly as possible. Go through some of the major trades. I'm not gonna go through all the major trades and signings, but we will go through some of the major ones, and we'll go from there. So, having said that, let's get into today's episode. And as always, the game never ends here. Before we get started with today's episode, make sure to download Prize Picks if you want to show off your sports intelligence. Download Prize Picks, the most elite sports fantasy app, and get started today. So, having said that, let's dive into some more NFL offseason news, starting with the talk of the town. It's DK Metcalf going to the Pittsburgh Steelers on a 5-year, 100 mil contract. What are we thinking about that? DK Metcalf was on the trade block. It's only a matter of time before he got picked up. Really good wide receiver from Seattle, and I think definitely he's definitely a push on offense. He's got some things he's got to work out attitude wise, just like George Pickens, but I think the Steelers can work that out of him, and he can get back to peak production. What do we think on that? Our thoughts. Your thoughts, Noah, on the DK
So,
trade.
so the DK trade, I feel that may cause a lot of problems in Pittsburgh, because George Pickens is their one receiver. So I'm not sure if they're gonna move him over to two and put DK at one, or if it's gonna be vice versa. You know, George Pickens, he had a problem not getting the football, and adding DK Metcalf, DK Metcalf, he's gonna want the ball, so that may cause a lot of drama on the Pittsburgh offense team.
That is true. DK is he's attitude wise, he does cause a lot of drama. He is one of those wide receivers that is known to crash out. And Pickens is Pickens, so that's gonna be an interesting wide receiver locker room for the Steelers. But I think they can work it out. That's a tough organization, tough atmosphere. A guy like DK could certainly fit in an atmosphere like Pittsburgh, but not a bad signing coming from a Browns fan myself. Not a bad signing. Um, 5 years, 100 mil, pretty good contract. It was only a matter of time before that dude got picked up. But let's shift gears to our own team. Talk about the Miles Garrett contract. We also extended this man surprisingly. 4 years, 132 million, I believe. This man, it's confusing with that man because for the longest time since the second to last week to now, he's been vocal about wanting to leave, wanting out, wanted to win. Made that big statement back in February that he wants to win, and then all that changes in an instant when we offer this man almost half of Deshaun Watson's contract just for him to stay. But very interesting, very controversial in some people's eyes. Uh, I think it's a good signing. Coming from a Browns fan, I think it's a good signing. We needed it because our defense would have been an absolute shambles had he left. But Miles Garrett is staying in Cleveland. Hopefully, we can start getting some pieces around him so that these last 4 years with him are good years. Good years. But what do you think on that? That surprising deal.
So it's real good, real good. I'm a fan of Miles Garrett. I'm glad that we're able to get him to stay. I don't really think it was about the money. I believe that they had to have said something to him to get him to stay, because he said he really wasn't interested in extending the contract. I'm really curious as the Browns have told Myles Garrett, and with us extending Myles, I believe that opens a whole bunch more opportunities. And in the draft, I feel like they're for sure taking quarterback at 2.
It certainly seems that way now, so having kept Miles. Couple days before that contract, Max Crosby was the highest non-quarterback player in the NFL, and then Miles Garrett happened, and now I believe the DK trade just topped that. So DK, I believe right now is the highest non-QB in the league right now. But major contracts for all three of those guys. Hopefully, all three of them, especially Miles Garrett, can make an impact. Again, like I said, hopefully we can start to get the pieces to help make these last 4 years with Miles good. Maybe get back to the wild card at the very most. But having said that, we got some other smaller trades that went down in the NFL. If you haven't been keeping up with your favorite team or not, there have been some smaller trades. Another kind of smaller but big trade is the Devonte Adams trade to the Rams. I said, you know, he's a little out of his prime. I think LA is the right fit for somebody like Devonte, who's still reliable. He's oddly enough going to be plugged in at the wide receiver one over there. I think that he should be a wide receiver two over there, and Puka should be the one over there. He's a lot younger and whatnot. But Devonte Adams to the Rams. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
So that was a very confusing pickup. They're releasing a older receiver that's been with the team for quite some time, his whole career, for a older receiver who's out of his prime. Like it's a confusing trade. Not it's a confusing pickup for me. Um, Not really sure what the Rams are doing there. I guess they just want a big name receiver to replace Cooper Kupp, and I do feel Puka should be wide receiver one. He deserves it. He's been putting in that work. He had a good rookie season, but yeah, that pickup of Devonte Adams is real confusing to me.
Yeah, I agree with you there for the most part. He's again, I do think the Rams is the best fit for a guy like him, who's out of his prime, who's at this point just looking for a team to retire with. I think the Rams can be that team. I'm not really. I don't really think personally that he's gonna move the Rams a whole lot, because I think the Rams, even if they hadn't gone out for Adams, I think they still could have been very well without Cup and Adams. But he definitely, I guess, can fill the shoes that Cooper Cup will be leaving. Again, he's still technically on the roster. I just seen this earlier this morning that they informed him that they will release Cooper Cup at the beginning of this coming season. So he's still Cooper Cup is still on the team. If he can't find a trade, he'll be released come the beginning of the season. But Devonte Adams definitely, I guess, can fill the shoes that Cooper Cup will be leaving. But yeah, I agree with you. Confusing pickup for the Rams, but I think it's a good fit for Devonte Adams. Having said that, and I do agree with you on the Puka part too. I think he should be the wide receiver one. He's put in just as much work as Cooper Cup has, if not more. He's younger, and he's only going to get better. But having said that, we got a trade going down earlier that I saw today between the Texans and the Eagles. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but CJ Gardner Johnson has been traded to the Texans. Don't know the whole deal about that. I don't know what the Texans gave up for him, but he's a Texan now. Very surprising trade. It seems to me that the Eagles are kind of revamping their secondary in a way, but yeah, CJ Gardner Johnson is a Texan now. The Texans secondary got better. The Eagles secondary, I would say, got a bit worse with this trade. I mean, CJ was that dude, but he's shipped off to the Texans now. What do you think about that? Are the Eagles possibly revamping their entire secondary? Because those seem to be the only guys that they seem to be releasing and cutting.
Yeah, that is really what it seems. Really what it seems. Good on the defense. Not really sure as to why they're sending these defensive players away. I don't know if they're hoping to get more people in the free agency or in the draft, but it's really confusing, man. So a lot of these trades that are going down and a lot of these pickups, it's really confusing. They really didn't have to do much to their defense. Maybe like a couple of linemen or linebackers, but their secondary is really good. That's what really mainly stumped the Chiefs in their victory in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah, it's very confusing what the Eagles are doing with their secondary. That obviously that was a good secondary. Obviously, we know that Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship have kind of stepped up big time. So maybe that's the direction the Eagles are, they can see and that they're foregoing for the near future is, relying on those two guys a lot more. But I agree with you. That is kind of a confusing trade. I'm not exactly sure. Again, I don't know what the Texans gave up to get him. Hopefully, not much. But yeah, I agree with you there. I think the Eagles, honestly, like like what you said about they maybe could have done a couple things in the linebacker department and the offense defensive line department, but I don't know. The Eagles seem to be going a different direction with the secondary as opposed to all their other positions. So it'll be interesting to see what not only their secondary looks like for this coming season, but it'll also be interesting to see what the Texans do. Speaking of the Texans, there was another minor trade a couple days ago. Christian Kirk from the Jaguars has been traded to the Texans as well. Um, another underrated receiver in the league. This was a in division trade, rivalry to rivalry trade. I think Christian Kirk can provide something for the Texans. I don't know if he's gonna. I've been seeing speculations that he's gonna come in and replace Tank Dell because we know Tank Dell's injury history is starting to grow and it's starting to become an actual concern. But I think he's coming in there to replace Stephon Diggs because Diggs is in free agency. But I would be surprised if they did suddenly move off of Tank Dell. But what is your what are your thoughts on that other minor trade, Christian Kirk to the Texans?
So it's a good pickup for the Texans. They are lacking in depth with the receiver room with the loss of Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. I seen somewhere that Tank Dell is most likely going to be out the whole season due to his ACL injury. So picking up a receiver to help out, not only having Nico Collins, but to just have an extra guy there, who can make great things happen. We seen what he did with the Jaguars. Um, it's a good pickup for them. It's a very well needed item for the offense of the Texans.
Very well needed indeed. Again, another under the radar trade. There have been a lot of under the radar trades. I know the Niners have traded almost their entire linebacker core to other teams. I know there's been other minor trades out there, other minor trades out there, but the biggest ones I'm forgetting. We almost forgot about one more big trade, if you want to call it a big trade, between the Seahawks and the Raiders. Geno Smith reuniting with Pete Carroll. What do you think about that? Geno Smith going back to Pete Carroll, gonna be a Raider. Almost
So
forgot about that trade.
originally I thought that with them trading away Geno and DK being put into trade talks and the release of Tyler Lockett, I thought they were all going to go to the Raiders, but that didn't happen because we see DK got picked up by the Steelers. So I mean, it's good, Pete Carroll getting a quarterback that he trusts. He has an offense built up around them. So it's I don't know what the Seahawks are gonna do, who they're gonna pick up at quarter. No, they just signed Sam Darnold, so they traded away Geno to get Sam Darnold, which is kind of confusing because you just got the white version of Geno Smith back there now. But I guess good job, but the Raiders did good, picking up a guy that Pete Carroll's familiar with to have throwing the football, a guy who he trusts.
Yeah, very another one of those very confusing trades. Another one of those bigger trades. I'm surprised the Seahawks went to Sam Darnold. I thought since because Sam Darnold's also a slightly older guy. He's not in his 30s yet, but he's coming up on his 30s. And Gino obviously is an older dude. He's been in the league for a long time. But I thought after the move, like trading Gino, I thought they were gonna maybe draft a quarterback, a younger guy. I thought that was the direction that the Seahawks were possibly going to go upon seeing the Geno Smith trade. But yeah, confusing trade for the Seahawks, really, because like you said, you pretty much just got the white version of Geno Smith throwing the ball over there. My guess is the Seahawks are hoping because they paid him 55 mil. I believe the contract is 55 mil guaranteed for like 3 years. I think for Sam Darnold. So I'm thinking maybe the Seahawks were thinking they could replicate the same performance that Sam Darnold had with the Vikings. So yeah, very confusing trade. I thought the Seahawks would definitely go for a younger guy since they obviously traded away their oldest guy there, but they went from mid to a below average. Not saying Sam Darnold is trash now because he did have a great season with the Vikings, but I mean I don't know if you're the Seahawks. I don't know if you really want to depend and especially guaranteeing 55 mil to a guy that's only had one good season so far. I don't know if you want to really depend on Sam Darnold to really lead your team. And they got no receivers now. They have no receivers to help Sam Darnold. So they
Yeah.
better Seahawks better do something to kind of put the team back together because right now they might not be going anywhere with the roster that they have. But yeah, I agree with you. They're very confusing trade for the Seahawks. I thought they would go younger, but hey, they're relying on Sam Darnold. They're relying on Sam Darnold. What do you think? What do you think about Sam Darnold? Do you think he's the not only the right fit, but do you think he's the guy that could lead the Seahawks, given the what the roster's looking like right now?
No, not at all, man. Sam Darnold had, Jay Jettis to throw to, Jordan Addison. Now he just has a bunch of unknown receivers getting thrown the ball. So I feel like the Seahawks aren't really going to do much with Sam Darnold back there unless they go target some receivers in the draft or pick up somebody in the free agency.
Yeah, the Seahawks they got to do something, but the roster that they got cooking up now, that's not going to help Sam Darnold. But with that being said, again, I know this has been kind of a short episode, but we will catch you guys Thursday for season 2, episode 12. Till then, make sure to keep up with your team's signings, releases, trades, etc. We'll catch you guys Thursday for season 2, episode 12. Till then, peace out. All
Yeah,
right,
that's my
man.
bad, bro. My freaking instructors